I'm feeling your fit today.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, you're looking like fitness fit.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
well, I mean,
fly,
I worked out.
Fitness fly.
I worked out and I just threw my, clothes on. I was like, let's get this done.
Yeah, well, you threw it on well.
Thank you.
Welcome back once again to the channel, Moving Up with the Miclettes.
Moving on up.
Mm-hmm. I'm Joseph.
I'm Sherri.
And today we are going to be talking about reasons why you should have an emergency fund. Five reasons. Mm-hmm. We can have many more, but we're only going to do five. Reason number one to have an emergency fund is not utilizing your credit card. Imagine that. Imagine not having to use your credit card for everything, right? Yeah. Imagine not having to purchase groceries, food. Imagine not having to make what would be seemingly regular purchases or semi-regular purchases and putting them on a credit card, wondering how you're going to pay that off eventually, right? So having an emergency fund will alleviate the need to have to use your credit card. Mm-hmm. Now, what about situations where you do use a credit card and you have money in an account? What do you do then?
Well, I mean, what we would do is, if we purchase something on a credit card, like we basically had to do today,
Facts.
Had to drop both cars off
Hella
to
facts.
be worked on. They come talking about some crazy amount for a bill. I'm just like, thank goodness we have an emergency fund, because otherwise, either that one money would have to come from savings or, we'd have to put it on a credit card.
Yep.
And if you don't have the money to pay it off, then that money just sits on your credit card.
Yep.
So, something to think about.
Not to mention other household items that we might need to replace and repair pretty soon, kind of giving us some indication that we have to do that, right? So having an opportunity to pay off a credit card with money sitting in an emergency fund, that's the whole reason it's there. Yeah. Right? So not having to dip into savings, like you just mentioned. Yeah. So that's a segue into number two.
Yes. So the second one is not having to dip into your savings. If it's something big, like the fact that we have both cars that have to be worked on today, like I said before, ordinarily we'd be like, okay, well, let's just pull out a savings. But in this instance, some of the repairs were, looking a little hefty. So that's money that, we can pull out of our emergency fund and not feel, like we're stressed about it in any way. So because that money is there, and that's exactly what it's for, an emergency fund. Mm-hmm. So not having to use your savings, also not having to use a credit card. But
Yep. And that brings us to item number three, and that is additional safety and security. So imagine, right, this feeling of anxiety, this feeling of stress over money. Imagine that just being alleviated. Imagine that burden, that weight just being lifted magically, right? Now, as well as we know, not just individually, but also as a household and as a family, when you're not stressing about finances, you breathe a little different. Yeah. Right? You're a little bit more happy. You're less stressed. You're less anxious. You're less overwhelmed. People in your home are a little bit more happy, right? Life is more enjoyable at home. You're not constantly thinking about where you're going to find money to pay off some bill. And man, that is one of the biggest weights that you can just carry with you on a daily basis, right?
Not to have to worry about robbing Peter to pay Paul, as they say. So just something, it's just something you don't have to worry about. You feel secure in knowing, like, if something were to happen, either we have our emergency fund, which is if someone lost a job, 3 to 6 months, and we're good until this person was able to find another job, or just, the washing machine went out and then the oven went out at the same time, and, life happens just crazy. And what's the saying? Murphy's Law? If it can happen, it will. So, just having that emergency fund, and just, it brings you that sense of security.
We all know what happens when you are stressed, right? When your mind is stressed, your brain is stressed, your body's stressed, and that has a whole slew of health complications that can arise as a result from it. So that's another way of also taking care of your body, is by taking care of your mind, taking care of yourself emotionally. So there's other benefits to that, obviously.
Yeah.
So
the next point we have is number 4, not having to liquidate, stocks or other investments that you have to pay an emergency, basically. So if you already have this emergency, and just for an example, if the stock market crashes or something like that, you have your emergency fund that you can pull money from until either the stock market comes back up or, until things start looking different.
And number 5, not having to feel like you have to take out a loan or even borrow money. Now, that's not the same. That's not the same as... Why are you laughing?
Oh, just, all the little memes went through my head. Like, oh, this person dodging me because they owe me money and just all that.
Yeah. So that's not the same.
Not having to feel that way. Like you hiding from somebody because you having to borrow money from them.
Oh, that for sure. That can go right back to number 3, right? When you don't want to answer the bill collector's phone call, you're like, dang, that's that number again.
Exactly.
And you're like, I don't even want to listen to the voicemail, right? You don't even want to listen to the voicemail because you know what they're about to say to you. And then you wait for that first notice and then that second notice and you're like, all right, I guess I'll have to make this payment, but I don't know where I'm going to get the money from, right?
Exactly.
So, number 5, once again, not having to take out a loan or borrow money. Now, that's not to say that they're the same thing, right? Because they're not mutually, mutually exclusive, right? They can be somewhat the same, but they're not necessarily the same thing always, right? For example, we all know about the payday loan sharks that are out there. Now, I'm not trying to disrespect anybody in the payday loan business, and I'm not trying to throw anybody under the bus, but I will say this. I used to work for them way back in the day, about 20 years ago. And I'll be real. At first, it was a great opportunity for me as a 19, 20, 21-year-old that is trying to make some money, save up for college. And then you start to see how evil that industry is, right? Because of what it does to people financially. So think about the fact that having an emergency fund alleviates the need to have to take out payday loans or having to take out a loan from some other banking institution, some other financial institution, or even having to borrow money, right? If you have an emergency fund, you may not have to borrow money from family members. You may not have to borrow money from friends, which then goes back to point number 3, not having to feel stressed that now you owe your friend money or you owe your family member money, and what that can ultimately do to your relationship.
Especially on the holidays. Before you do anything else, especially during this time, try to get your emergency fund up. Even if it's, $2,000, $3,000, just to the point where you feel comfortable where, if something did happen, you had enough money to cover it. Yeah. But, always just be adding money to your emergency fund. And, after a certain amount of time, you'll check on it and it'll just be, a large amount that you don't touch because it is an emergency fund, but you have it there.
Yeah. Now, you will hear people on YouTube and people on the internet, financial advisors say, optimally, you want to have 6 months of an emergency fund, right? You want to have 6 months of savings. And that sounds kind of daunting, right? To think about, man, 6 months, even if it's $5,000 a month, right? 6 months, that's $30,000. Where am I going to come up with $30,000? Yeah. But like Sherri said, if you at least start the process, it may take you a year. It may take you 2 years, but at least you're starting the process and you're adding to that fund. Anything else? No. Nothing else? Man, that was quick and easy. Quick, fast, as I say, quick, fast, and in a hurry. Man, no days off?
No days off.
No days off, y'all.
Take care of yourself.
That's right. Take care of yourself physically. Take care of yourself emotionally. Take care of yourself mentally.
Spiritually.
There you go.
All of that.
All of that. All right. So, you want to take them out?
Thank you so much for joining us on the channel. Keep moving up with the Miclettes, and we'll see you in the next video.
All right. Please like, share, subscribe, and comment down below. And let us know what y'all think, everybody. All right. Have yourselves a wonderful, wonderful day. And we'll check y'all out next time.
goodness.
Welcome back once again to the channel, Moving Up with the Miclettes.
Moving on up.
And today, oh shit, I know. Damn. I'm Joseph.
You showing up, ducking and dodging for a year.
Yeah.
You know, people don't forget when it comes to money. You know, money is a very sticky subject. Bro.
I'm feeling the lipstick. It reminds me of like one of those Seeds candy butter scotch chocolate mocha.